Hello friends, welcome back to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video/tutorial. Before we start, I want to apologize due to the delay on the video. I was running behind schedule due to everyday things. Life gets in the way sometimes and I'm really sorry about it. But this is going to be the Cessna 208 Grand Caravan tutorial that was requested by multiple subscribers. And while I'm talking about subscribers, let me thank you all for the support that you have shown. We are now looking to over 1200 subscribers on the channel, and it is amazing to see where we started and how far we have come. Thank you for that. So today I thought we might as well do two birds with one stone type of thing, and while we are looking to Cessna Grand Caravan, we will also look into the RNAV approach to see how it's done and what RNAV approach is and so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? We are currently parked at Echo Delta Lima Papa, Paderborn Airport in Germany. For those of you who has seen the G1000 tutorials, we have departed from this airport one more time or two more times or twice when we were looking into the VOR navigation and the charts, so on and so forth. So we will do the same flight. We will depart from runway 06 at Paderborn, and we will be doing an RNAV approach into runway 09 left at Hanover Airport. I will share the flight plan and show you the route here in a second, but before we do that, let's take a look at the cockpit and let's just go through the startup procedure for Cessna Grand Caravan. So over here is the electrical panel, and the avionics switches as well as the fuel boost pump is in this panel. Right here is your lights panel, and then the anti-ice systems are located here. This aircraft has 3 G1000 units, 2 PFDs, one for pilot, one for co-pilot, and then an MFD. All three are G1000, so we have been through this. I'm not going to dive into the functions of G1000. Let's get rid of the yoke. The lights, the cabin lights, and the avionics brightnesses are here. This is the inertial separator. I turned on the cockpit tooltips just to show you where am I pointing at. This is the AC system, and the rest of the buttons over here are in-up. This is the standby instruments, or these are the standby instruments. Autopilot panel, pretty self-explanatory, simple. We have seen this so many times, I'm pretty sure you guys can figure this out on your own. Down below, the fuel shut-off valve is here. Aileron trim, rudder trim, and the pitch trim are here. This is the parking brake, and I think that's about it that I want to talk about. And on the overhead panel we have the fuel valves, and then the oxygen switch, which is not working, and also the vent air fan switches are not working too, and these are the floodlights in the cockpit. So let's get started. So startup procedure. First things first, we need to open and turn on the fuel tank valves. From there we turn the battery master to on, and then we turn on the beacon light. After turning that on, we turn on the fuel boost pump, and we turn on avionics 1.
Okay.
And we make sure we have full prop RPM and mixture is at cutoff, and we will add fuel and move it to low idle when we are starting the engine. So our PFD is live or turned on. We turn on the starter from here, and so the prop started to spin. So when you see it's spinning, move the mixture to around 40%, and now we can turn on the avionics too and take a look at the engine stats. So we're looking good. N1 is getting to the green area, so at around 50%, which is right now. We can now turn on the turn off the starter and put the fuel boost pump to normal, and that is the startup procedure for this aircraft. We can turn on the nav lights now, and the rest is setting up the barometric pressure, which I will do by pressing the B key. And then our cruise altitude today is going to be 9,000, which I'm going to set right now. It'll take some time to get there. So 9,000 set. Change the navigation source to GPS, and we will synchronize the current heading. I don't like this inset map, so I'm gonna get rid of that. And we don't need any bearing pointers for this flight because we are not doing VOR navigation. We can keep the nav 1, the GPS on bearing 1, but we can get rid of the DME, and nothing else is needed. Wind option is already in there, so that's also selected. So now we can turn on the flight director, we can turn on the nav mode, and we will be doing a flight level change climb. And this aircraft, I think the speed, the best speed to climb is around 140-145 knots, so we are going to set ourselves for that speed, which we will do here in a second. Oops, a little bit too much. 145, we'll see. We might drop to 140 based on the climb rate. We will see how that goes. So brightness, we can adjust that. Standby instrument lights, panel lighting, and a little bit overhead lighting too. I think we are good. So engine is running, and we are pretty much ready to taxi. So nav lights, we can turn on the taxi lights, and let me show you the taxi route here. We will be departing from you see there, and this is looking a little bit odd because I turned on the track up. These options are coming from the G1000 mod that we have discussed so many times. And remember the engine page, this one doesn't have an engine page, but that's where it's coming from. So we are departing from runway 06 left, and if I pan to the left a little bit, we will be able to see our taxi route. So we will take this, maybe take this one, make a left turn, go all the way to the end, and then line up on the runway. That's the plan for now. So do we have enough room to turn around? I guess we do. And then not that exit, but we will be using this one and over there. So everything is looking good. Now we can go full mixture, 100%, full prop, RPM. Taxi lights are on, and the ones below over here are cabin lights, which turns on the lights in the cabin. As you see, they are now bright. seatbelt signs and no smoking signs. This is the only turboprop that has these lighting options, and this is also the slowest of the 3 turboprops in the simulator, but this is a workhorse. It can haul a lot of payload at a slower speed. So let's release the parking brake and get going. Hopefully we will be able to turn around without hitting anything. We started the move, so yeah, pretend like you didn't see that generator over there. We didn't do anything wrong. Alright, so we will follow this yellow taxi line over here, and let me brake just a tiny bit because this thing speeds up pretty fast during taxi. We will be taking this yellow line to the first taxiway, which will be this next right, and from there we will go all the way to the end of the runway and line up, and we will do our takeoff configuration check, and we will be on our way. So this right turn here, and if I'm too fast, I'm using my left or right toe brake to make the turns quicker, because as I said, this aircraft during taxi goes a little bit faster than I like it to go. Not sure if this is a bug or something that can be fixed in the future updates, but we will keep continuing the taxi, and I will bring the chart over here to take a look at the flight plan, and we will do the departure briefing when we get to the holding short point of this runway. So we have a little bit more way to go, but as I said, we are traveling fast, so we should be at the runway threshold or holding short point in about 30 seconds, I would say. So altitude is set, speed is set, all the information we need is here. Only thing that we might go and turn on is the references or speed bugs, like the rotate speed, which is around 75 knots for this aircraft, and we can set the glide speed later on, but let's just hold short here before entering the runway and take a look at our takeoff configuration. Throttle is idle, parking brake is set. So let me pull the Navigraph window to show you the flight plan. So let me resize this just a little bit. Remember from the older tutorials, we are taking from Paderborn, LP101, LP104, following the course to Warburg VOR station, making a left turn, following all the way to Robeg, and then this waypoint here, and then making a right turn into Hanover Airport. So that's the same flight plan. You will probably remember. Departure is the same departure we used, Warburg 1 X-ray, and if we take a look at the chart, you guys, I'm pretty sure, will remember. We need to be at or about 1700 feet when we are crossing 2.7 miles from Paderborn VOR, or 2.1 from IPLW. So Paderborn, ILS DME, we can tune this in to the nav radio to track the distance, or we can tune this and track the distance, which is where is the pad? Right here, 108.5. And
108.5 didn't work in the first tutorials that I have recorded, and we ended up using 108.55. But that's something we can do here quickly. 108. Let's try 108.5, and let's put the DME here to nav1 and transfer that over. Okay, looks like we are receiving the signal, so that means we are tracking the Paderborn VOR, and we are tracking for 2.7 miles to be at or above 1700 feet. So that's the plan. And that is the departure. As I said, we are going to take, I think this was 75, and then we will turn to 077, follow that distance to 5.6 miles, and make a turn to 123 towards the Paderborn, the Warburg VOR station. So that's our departure. So let's put this aside to the other screen. And now I'm sure we can just go in there. Landing lights can turn on, strobe can come on, and we are ready to enter the runway. Let's line up, and while we are doing that, let me set the flaps to what's going on. Okay, let me do this and set the flaps to take off. Let's line up and take off. So I talked about the speed box, but I'm not going to take the time to set them up because I know I will be rotating at 75 knots. So let's go, not full throttle. I'm keeping an eye on the torque over here, and I don't want it to go into the danger zone. But we are good here, applying forward pressure on the stick until, oops, what's going on? Crosswind, I guess. This is acting weird now. Anyway, 75. Okay, I was able to correct myself. That was scary. I was looking to somewhere else, and all of a sudden I saw the aircraft moving away from the runway. But we will follow the runway heading, which was 055, like that. And I am trying to climb to 1700 before I see 2.6 on that DME distance. And I think 5-degree climb is best for this aircraft. We can retract the flaps and pitch the nose just a tiny bit. And now we are at 1.1, and we will be probably safely at that altitude. I am leaning against turning the autopilot, and it should take care of the rest from there. First it will speed up, and then it will start climbing when it reaches 145, and I'm thinking about dropping that speed to 140 knots. Alright, so distance is 2.2. We are almost passing 1700, so we are safe in that regard, and we are reaching to LP 100. So from here we will take another turn to 077, which is also displayed here as you see, and then 123 towards Warburg VOR station. Okay, so while the autopilot is doing its thing, and I have to say, with the last patch, I think the autopilot behavior is better. It was doing crazy stuff. Only complaint I have is I cannot turn on the yaw damper on this aircraft. Everything else, all the other aircraft, I was able to turn this on, but not in the
Grand Caravan, so I'm not sure if this is still a bug. This aircraft comes with an ADF radio as well over here, and this one also has behind the throttle, which we don't see right here from this angle, but the last two white switches are for a timer. So this is the elapsed timer. This is if we can get there, this is a normal timer that you can start if you ever need a timer in this aircraft. Alright, so the aircraft is doing its thing. As you see, we are tracking course 124 towards Warburg VOR station. Let's synchronize the heading and let's start discussing about the RNAV navigation and what we are going to do. So after Warburg, we will take that turn, and I will put the approach. Actually, I will put the approach chart here. Let me do that. That will be easier to talk about, I would guess. So we are doing a 09 left RNAV approach. So this is the approach chart overlaid to our flight plan. Currently we are traveling, as you see, that magenta arrow is us towards Warburg. Make a turn, pass Robag, which is right there. There are no altitude restrictions whatsoever. 4,000 or above is fine for this route until we hit this Delta Victor 632, because let's just start from the top. These are the frequencies of the Hanover airport, ATIS, radar. This is the sector or Raman radar, which is the airspace controller. Hanover director, Hanover tower, Hanover ground. This is an RNAV approach chart, so we don't have any frequencies to tune in. So RNAV, let's start with that. RNAV is a satellite-based approach. It is also known as I don't want to say GPS approach, but it's pretty much what it is. Therefore, we don't have any frequencies. In real life, people think RNAV is much more reliable because you don't need to worry about a radio signal reception. It's satellite based, and when you are connected to the satellites, you are good to go for an RNAV approach. It has two different types. You are looking to RNP, and the other one is GNSS. The difference is the precision requirements in real life of the avionic units, whether you can do RNP or GNSS. That will depend heavily on your avionics and the GPS precision of the avionics, but I'm not going to dive into that detail. It's giving us the final approach course, which is 090 or 090. This should be automatically tuned in or set in the G1000 unit. Minimum altitude that we need to be at our final approach fix, I think. Yes, the Maltese Cross is telling us that this is the final approach fix. Decim, we need to be at 3,000 feet there to capture the glide path. RNAV approaches do not have a glide slope like the ILS approaches. Instead, they do have a glide path that takes you into the runway. The decision altitude or height refer to the minimums. We will take a look at that. Airport elevation, runway elevation are depicted here. Minimum sector altitude is 2800. Missed approach instructions are here, which it says climb on 090, which is the runway heading, to Delta Victor 635, this guy over here, which is 3 miles away from the runway. I was thinking about the word. And then make a left turn directly to this November India Echo VOR station and climb to 4,000 feet. That's the missed approach, and this is the holding pattern depicted here, that we will come here, enter the holding pattern from here, and 001, turn around 181, and do this holding pattern until ATC gives us instructions to try the landing again, which then we will exit, track this Delta Victor 630, and then join to here, and then try to land again. Okay, down below are the distances and the altitudes to runway 09 left that you should expect when doing an RNAV approach. At 8 miles we should expect to be at 2770 feet, and so on and so forth. This is the vertical profile of the approach. We enter or pass Delta Victor 632 at 3000, and at Decim we expect to capture the glide path which will start the aircraft to descend. And now we are making that for turn. We reached the rowback VOR, and that will take us into the runway. Ground speed and the descent angles are depicted here. This is pretty much automatic, but for reference, if you are approaching at 90 miles, you should be descending at 478 feet at least per minute, I'm sorry. And the minimums are here. For, I think we are a Cat B or Category B aircraft, so our minimums will be 585 feet above and 418 feet above ground, 585 feet above sea level. And that's all about the RNAV chart. All is left for us is to set up the aircraft for the approach, which only requires us to enter the minimums. Let's synchronize the heading one more time. Go back, timer reference. Let's set the glide speed is going to be 75 AD knots. I think 75 will be okay for this aircraft. And the minimums, if we can get down there. Oops, wrong button. We are going to use barometric minimums, which is above sea level, and that was 585, so I will tune for 590. That will be our minimums. Okay. Enter that. Press that one. And remove that from the screen. Now we have our minimums over here. One other thing that I want to share is this chart also shows you the transition altitude, which is 5,000 feet, but Microsoft Flight Simulator has not fixed that problem with 18,000 feet transition altitude across the world, so hopefully that will be taken care of in the near future. So while we are doing this, let's take a look at the engine stats and let's set ourselves for cruise. For this aircraft, what I found best is pull the mixture control around 60%, okay, and then prop RPM to where this RPM goes around 1700 is the sweet spot, and pull back on the throttle just a tiny bit to get to 1700 RPM on the throttle, not the throttle, I'm sorry, on the prop RPM, and we will be good to go from there. I don't want to mess with the prop throttle, I want to adjust the throttle RPM. The propeller RPM, not throttle RPM, what I was thinking. So somewhere around 1700, 1750 is a good cruising speed. Was it 800, 1800? I think it was 1800. I might be wrong. And I think it was 60% throttle. Yeah, looks about it. It was cruising nicely around 160 knots when I set it like that. But let's see. 65% throttle. There we go. And 1800 RPM on the propeller. I think that was what I was trying to do, or 1750. I'm watching the speed somewhere around those lines. So we set our minimums. Now we are waiting for the aircraft to get to that waypoint, and we will activate the approach mode when we get there, which is before the final turn into the runway, that Delta Victor 632 waypoint. So just to keep the video at a reasonable length, I guess I'm gonna cut here and bring you guys back when we are close to the airport. So see you in a little bit. Welcome back. We are around 18.5 miles from Robeg, and I think this is a good place to start descending to 3000. So we will set ourselves for 3000 feet, and we will start our descent with 1000 feet per minute rate, like that, and we will come back on the throttle so that we don't overspeed the aircraft. 5000, 4000, 3000. So okay, we are descending to 3000. Speed is looking good, and I think if we descend at 1000 feet per minute, I think we will be fine, and we will be at 3000 before that waypoint, which is, I believe, which was Cessna. Am I right? Yes. Okay. So I will keep descending, and we will get close to the airport, and I will bring you guys back when we are really close and ready to turn on the approach mode. See you in a little bit. We are getting really close to Hanover, and we are getting close to Delta Victor 632, which is our initial approach fix, or initial fix. That's displayed on the chart over here with an IF, and then this is our final approach fix, which is FAF. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to start slowing down and maybe extend one level of flaps and make that turn and configure ourselves before we hit this waypoint somewhere over here. I want to be fully configured before we get there, but I don't want to slow down too much. That will cause us to take more time to get there. So keep the speed, I'll keep it around 140, 145 knots, right above the flap deployment speed. And now, as you see, the turn is coming. When we complete the turn, I will start slowing just a little bit more and extend the flaps. Maybe we can get this range a little bit closer to see better. So when we hit that DV633, I want to extend the flaps, and after this turn, now we can activate the approach mode when the aircraft lines itself up, and I'm gonna start slowing down right now because we are getting close to the final approach fix, and you need to engage the approach mode before you hit the final approach fix. So right now I'm gonna turn it on, and as you see, a couple things changed here. now it says this GS in place, which needs to be GP because we have a glide path for the RNAV approach, not a glide slope. Let me slow down a little bit because we are getting really close to decim, and I need to extend the flaps. So we are at the flaps speed, flaps 1 or flaps landing, and I'm gonna slow us down and keep the speed around 75, and we will see as we start descending the aircraft will start picking up speed. Let's adjust the heading and synchronize. And so when we capture the glide path, this GS, which needs to be GP, will turn to green, and this magenta indicator is the glide path indicator. So we are passing decim, and as you see, now we captured the glide path and the aircraft is descending into the runway 09 left. I will keep the speed around 74, 75, and only thing that's left is to maintain the speed and check the alignment with the runway, and we should be good. We'll go full RPM, full mixture for landing, and adjust the throttle to keep the speed around where we want it to be. Adjust the heading, and now we started descending. Remember from the chart our missed approach altitude is 4000, so that's set, and we are slowing down a little bit more, which I don't want, so we will keep it at around 75 as much as we possibly can. It's bouncing around. As you see, we have a 18 knot tailwind coming from behind, so that's the reason of those bounces, but this is going to be a good landing. So what is going to happen now? RNAV or GPS or satellite approach, whatever you name it, is going to take us all the way into the runway. This is not an auto land, so what I'm gonna do is I will wait until we reach these minimums and then disengage the autopilot and continue like a visual approach from there forward. So while we are approaching, let's check our lights. Landing lights are on, taxi light is off, nav light, beacon, strobe is on, seatbelt signs are turned on, and everything is looking good, guys. We are just waiting to land into the runway, and which we are nicely doing. See, 2 white, 2 red lights, so that means glide path is perfectly aligned, and we are on our way to land. By the way, I need to watch the speed because we just dropped the speed there just a tiny bit, trying to maintain 70 to 75 knots and not go above 75 because it will make the aircraft float when we are trying to land. So I don't want to approach with higher speed if I don't have to. But all in all, I think it's going to be a good landing. We have tailwind, no crosswind, and that's what we want. Actually, the ideal thing is to land into the wind from the other side of the runway, but we should be fine from this side as well. If we can maintain the speed and manage it until we get to the minimums. So we are almost 600 feet above the minimums, and I started to see a difference. No, okay, no difference. It was a mistake. My eyes are getting old, I guess. So this is really what RNAV approach is. Pretty much very close to ILS, even easier because you don't need to tune any frequencies. You just turn your CDI source to GPS, and that's about it when you plan the RNAV approach. And you need to only pay attention to the altitude that we have seen on the chart, which was 3,000 feet, where you expect to capture the glide path. And from there, I think that's going to be it. So we are getting close to the minimums. In about 100 feet, we will be at the minimums, which then I will disconnect the autopilot and continue visually. So 600 minimums, continue, autopilot disengaged. I don't need to do too much. I need to maintain the course and make small corrections as I see fit. And you see 3 red lights. That's completely fine. It's not going to be a problem to land this aircraft. I need to go to the left a little bit and correct myself with the runway. But from here it's easily manageable to get into the runway and pass the threshold. And it's usually you are going to see different puppy lights when you get close with an RNAV approach, because it's not an ILS and less precise, I would say. So we passed the threshold, throttle to idle, and at about, let's see, we are floating a little bit, but we are done. Alright, it was a good landing. So reverse thrust is set. We are slowing down. For the nuts, reverse thrust is off, and we will take this exit out of the runway. Alright. All in all, I think this was a good flight. So landing lights can go off, taxi light can come on, and we can turn off the strobe and go to our parking position. Retract the flaps, and there you have it, guys. Welcome to Hanover in Germany. We landed with an RNAV approach, and I think this is going to be it for this tutorial. I will keep taxiing until I wrap up the video and close it. But as I said, RNAV, I use it wherever I can. I like to do it. It's easier than GPS. You don't need to. It's easier than, ILS. You don't need to tune any frequencies. You don't need to worry about the avionics switching from GPS to VOR, and so on and so forth. So, you know, it's much more manageable and easier than ILS. So I suggest you to use it wherever you can. And we will take this route. I'm not sure I'm at the correct spot. Wow, that was bumpy. Oh, okay. So this, yeah, okay. I think the right hand side is the general aviation parking area. I'm not sure, might be, but that's where I'm going. I'm going over there to find us a parking spot. So if you stumbled upon this video and if you want to learn more about the G1000, I have a whole series about G1000 that you can go and check. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider subscribing to get notified for the future episodes, and please do not forget to turn on the notifications to get notified when a new video comes out. I have a Discord server if you are interested in connecting with me and asking your questions. I check it and spend some time in there every day. Yeah, this was the general aviation parking area, so I was right. Yes guys, so this is going to be it. In the next video, I'm not sure, because we covered the RNAV approach, I might look into setting up custom camera views, and I have some other ideas that I will also see if that is feasible to do. If you have any ideas or requests, please leave me a comment and let me know what you want to see. I think I created a poll on YouTube to ask you guys what you want to see in the next episodes. For therefore this RNAV approach was the highest voted one in that poll, and that's where it's coming from. And I wanted to combine it with the Grand Caravan tutorial that I promised to a couple subscribers way back. Alright, we parked here. So while we are here, let's look into the shutdown procedure. Taxi lights are going off, nav lights are going off, beacon will stay on while the engines are running, no smoking, seat belt signs and cabin lights are off. What we do from here is we will cut the throttle, pull the cutoff switch, cut the RPM, wait for engine to slow down and stop. Parking brake is set. Probe is going to stop here in a second. There we go. And then from there, avionics 2, avionics 1 is off, and the fuel boost pump is off, and then finally the battery master is off. So we powered down the aircraft. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Take care until that time.